Hello and welcome to this pattern recognition video featuring 5 advanced puzzles rated 1800 to 2000. If these are too easy or too difficult for you, I'm doing a series where one day I'll do beginner puzzles, the next day intermediate, then today advanced, tomorrow I'll do expert puzzles, and in the future perhaps I'll do some master puzzles. But for today, we have 5 puzzles in this problem. It looks like the knight has just stepped forward here. And if we look at material, we have 6 pawns. Our opponent has 6. But there is an imbalance here. We have rook and knight versus rook and knight, but bishop versus a queen. So we need to do something here before that queen gets involved and turns the tide of the game. So with black to move, what would you do in this position? You want to look at checks first. So, we have an attack on this knight. If we check this way, the king would move and can we go after this knight, or do we have a better check? So pause the video at any time. And remember, if you're new to pattern recognition, the idea is to do more than one puzzle, do a series of puzzles and go through them more than one time. That way you don't just solve these puzzles and then just forget the patterns in them. So if we look at checks first, this check probably doesn't do as much. It piles up on the knight with the bishop, but I don't know, the king could escape, possibly. So maybe better is to go here. And whenever a king is in check, the 3 options are capture, block, or run. And we can't capture. Our opponent can't capture. They can't block because the rook will be side by side with the king. So once the rook goes here, the king will have to run, and the only square available is here. Then the knight can jump in, delivering a check, forcing the king further down the board to here on h7. And then our rook can swing back and deliver a mate on g7. So here we go. Check, check, and mate. So great little pattern there with knight, rook, and bishop all working together. And I've mentioned this in past videos. On average, it takes about 3 pieces to deliver a checkmate, more or less, depending on the number of defenders. So great little pattern there. All right, that was rated 1970, so let's move on to problem number 2. Knight has just stepped forward here, unleashing an attack on our bishop. Our queen is under attack as well. If we look at material, we have 5 pawns. Our opponent has 6. And the rest of the material is even. It looks like we're in trouble, but if we look at checks first, hopefully that will help you solve this puzzle. All right. Looking at checks first. The only check possible would be to capture here. But then what do we do? If we go here, grab that pawn. Remember, when the king is under attack, the options are to capture the attacker, and that's not possible. Block the attacker or run. So the king could run into the corner, or maybe better is to block and protect, or help protect this bishop. So capture. Rook helps defend the bishop. We could go ahead and take the bishop, attacking the queen after a recapture by the queen. Then we could pick off the knight over here. So all right, so there we go. We end up a knight ahead in this position. That should be enough to win. Let's move on to problem number 3. Okay. All right. If we look at checks first, man, we have this rook battery. We could go here, but then the king could escape towards the center. So maybe we check with our bishop. So if we go there, what can our opponent do? Can't capture, but can block. So if they block with a pawn, we just take that pawn. Then if they block with the rook, well, we can deliver a back rank mate. So check, check, and back rank mate. All right, I hope you found that one. Let's move on to problem number 4. Okay, a knight is just developed. If we look at material, we have 6 pawns. Our opponent has, what, 7? So we're down a pawn, and we're down a knight as well. So what can we do? All right, this is a great pattern here. Take a look at this, try and solve it. Pause the video if you need to. If not, here we go. All right, if we look at checks first, of course we could go here backed up by the bishop, but the king could run. And then what do? Do we have any kind of follow-up? So a better move is to go here, checking with the bishop, preventing the king from running towards the center. Instead, the king will have to go into the corner, and then we can move our bishop to g6 with a discovered attack, and then deliver a mate on h7. So check, discovered check. So we have that block, but it doesn't matter, because then we can go here and deliver the mate. All right, great pattern there. I've probably used something similar in games before. So let's move on to the final puzzle, problem number 5. All right, a rook just captured here. We could recapture, but let's look at the material first. Okay. We have 5 pawns. Our opponent has 7 with a passed pawn here. And our queen is under attack, but it's protected. It looks like, we could just take the rook here. But then one problem might be, well, we would have a passed pawn then. So maybe we simplify down. If we take, but if we do that, they would have to retake probably. Then we could take. So this is an issue when you're trying to solve tactics, the move order. So what do we do here? If we just take, the queen could capture with check, then capture the other pawn. So maybe we knock out the queen first. If we go there, if they try and push their pawn, well, then we could save our queen, capturing the pawn. If they take with their rook, we'll take their rook, and we still have that passed pawn. So I'm thinking that's what we need to do. Knock out the queen. If they just take, well, then we can take, and we have this dangerous passed pawn. So I think that works. And we'll be able to promote with check. Now they do have both of these pawns moving down the board, and that looks pretty dangerous. All right, I'm going to pull up the analysis and play this out a little bit further. See what the computer says would be the way to continue here. Oh, wow, that was kind of crazy if you saw that on the screen. All right, let me move my image here. All right, so now we can see what the computer recommends as a continuation here. The game went, capture of a bishop, we take the queen, they recapture, we grab the rook, and the pawns start running. All right, and we promote. But now, how should how best to follow this up? They recommend king up to h2, and then rook to what? d8. Now they're saying queen to b6 might be best, which is kind of what I was looking at. So let's look at this. If they go here, well, then you're going to have promotion to a queen. Now what? Wow, it's saying rook to d8 or f8 is best here. Or h8. So, we probably want to centralize. So we'll go there. Then what? h4. Now they're saying king to g3. And so what then? Queen to d6. So we just consolidate everything. e3, they try and get rid of our pawn. Bishop to f5. So we just use our extra rook and the queen to prevent this promotion, because then we can just capture. So that's pretty interesting. All right, well, that was 5 puzzles for today. Feel free to leave comments, like, and subscribe to support the channel. Thank you for watching, and have a super chess day.